Hi, I'm Megan Nielsen and today I'm going to teach you how to take your old worn out clothing and leftover fabric scraps from old sewing projects and turn them into a beautiful braided rug. I absolutely hate waste, and this is a great way to take some things that would otherwise end up in the landfill and turn them into something useful and unique that's really beautiful. Before we get started, I would love it if you would hit subscribe if you want to make sure you get my future updates, and let's get started. The first thing you need to do is gather up your fabric scraps or ruined clothing and cut them into 1-inch wide strips. It doesn't matter if they're stretchy or woven fabrics, but personally I like to make each braid out of a mix of both. For this rug I've decided to stick to a theme of pink, white and grey. To begin, take 3 strips, layering them on top of each other and sew along the edge to secure. Tape the sewn edge to a table or chair so it doesn't move while you're braiding. You could also pin it to a fabric couch or bed, but obviously don't pin it to anything leather. Begin braiding, not too loose and not too tight. Let's speed this up so I can show you how to join new pieces to your braid. Braiding enough to make a rug can take a while, so I like to do it while watching TV. I estimate an episode of Gilmore Girls is probably enough time to braid enough for a small rug. The original series, not the Netflix reboot, which I like to pretend doesn't exist. When you come to the end of your braid, there are a few ways you can add on more fabric. You can simply take a new piece of fabric, place it over the piece that's ending, and wrap the outer one around it tightly. Then begin braiding again carefully. This is my favorite method as it's the fastest, and it really doesn't take a lot of time. As you can see, you just kind of keep braiding and that tightens everything together and holds it securely. Okay, while you're watching me add that piece in, I'm just going to tell you quickly about my least favorite method of adding fabric to a braid, but it's still perfectly legitimate, and that's to take your new strip and sew it to the piece that's run out. You can do this by hand or you can do it on the sewing machine. I don't particularly like it because I feel like it just wastes a lot of time and it's not as fast. Okay, so we've had another piece run out now, so I can show you my second favorite way of adding fabric. You'll need a pair of scissors for this one, so go grab them. Is to cut a slit into a new piece that you're going to add on. As you can see, I'm just folding it in half and giving a little snip with my scissors. It's a small hole, maybe only 2 centimeters long. Then you would fold over the piece that needs to be added to and make a little slit in that one as well. Now this bit is really important. Always push the piece that has run out through the hole in the piece that you're adding. That has to happen first. Then take the long remaining end of the piece that you're adding and put it through the slit in the piece that you're adding to. Give it a little tug, pull all the way through, and the 2 pieces will be joined like magic. Now that you know 3 different ways to add new fabric to your braid, you can keep braiding till you have enough for your rug. Don't worry if some of the edges of your braid look a little messy as you're adding things. This won't be noticeable at all when we sew the rug together at the end. Once you've braided all of your scraps enough for a rug, then we can get sewing. Set your sewing machine to a wide zigzag stitch and make sure you're using a sturdy needle like leather or denim needle as you'll be sewing through thick layers. Place all of your braid on the right side of your sewing machine, make a small coil like this and sew them together. Make sure you always pull your braid into your coil from the right hand side as your coil will be growing on the left. Okay, let's get started sewing. Fold under the end of your braid by about 1 inch and sew it together. Once you've done this, you can start turning more braid around the first coil and zigzagging to attach them. Go slowly, the first few turns are the hardest. It feels a bit fiddly, but it gets much easier after you've done the first few turns. Keep going, adding more braid around the outside edge, and be careful that you don't stretch your braid as you go or your rug will end up warped. Once you have a placemat size piece, you'll need to stabilize it as you sew to make sure it stays flat and doesn't warp. I didn't show it in this video, but I stacked up a few magazines on my table that were the same height as my quilting plate, and this helped me to make sure that my rug stayed flat as I sewed. When you get to the end of your rug, you can simply tuck under the remaining edge of the braid and zigzag closed. For this rug, I wanted to keep adding to it over time, so I left the ends loose. Now, whenever I get new scraps that are in the same color palette, I add it to the braid and sew it straight to the rug. It's a constantly growing scrap rug. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below if you have any questions.